Hello, this is a tutorial on items for Skript. So to start, we're going to create a testing command just so that we can give ourselves an item. I'm going to call it give item. If you do /item or /give, those are commands in popular plugins, so they might not work. So I would just recommend doing give item. So you can give an item to a player by saying give the item to the player. So if I reload it and then type /give item, it gives me a diamond. You can also store items in variables, and then I can give the item and I can also send the item. And this will just send a message. So it says diamond right there, and it gave me a diamond. If you want multiple, then you can just do 2 diamond, or you can also do set amount of item to 3, let's see. And then I get 3, and if I get rid of that, then I get 2. You can set the name of an item kind of similar to setting the amount, where you do set name of item to my named item. And you can see it's got a name. One thing to note is if you don't put a color code here, then it'll be italic by default, because that's what happens when you name an item in an anvil. So if I show you, if I set it to hello, then you can see the name is italic, and that's the same with Skript. So you see it's italic right there, and you can just set a color code, and you can set it to white if you want. That just will get rid of the italics. You can set the lower like this. This is the same thing where lower by default is italic and it's also purple. So then, yeah, that's the lower. If you want multiple lines, then you can just comma separate them. And I'll also show putting a color code, which will get rid of the purple and the italic. You can see, and you can just ignore this. If you want to get rid of it, then just put an and there. Or you can do 3 lines like this. And it's got 3 lines. So yeah, it's basically just like a comma separated list, and then the last one is and. You can add enchantments to items, so you can add whatever enchantment you like to whatever item you like. So I can enchant this item with sharpness 10. And now it's got sharpness 10, and I will be able to do a lot of damage. Yeah, I can 2-hit a cow with a diamond. If you want the glowing effect, but you don't want it to say sharpness 10, well, what you can do is, I usually do unbreaking 1, because that's an enchantment with not really much effect. And then you can do add hide enchants to item flags of item. And then it's not got the enchantment, but it's still glowing. It doesn't show the enchantment, but it does actually have the enchantment, so if this was like a pickaxe, then it would still have Unbreaking 1. You just have to find an enchantment that doesn't really affect the item. Like, you could put Respiration on a pickaxe if you wanted, and that wouldn't affect it. There is quite a lot of item flags, so like you can hide if it's unbreakable, hide the attributes, etc. So if you just look at the documentation, here is everything. Yeah, so if you wanted to add data to an item, you can do that, but you do need a script add-on. It's called SKB right here. You just install it as a plugin. You can find it by just searching SKB, or I'll put a link in a pinned comment. And what that lets you do is you can add a tag to an item. So like set string tag my data of custom MBT of item to hello. There's a few data types. So like you can set strings, which is text. You can do booleans or integers. You can't just do every type. So like you couldn't put an item inside an item. So yeah, that's just one limitation of Minecraft. And then let's add a command which says what this string tag contains. So say tag trigger. Also, if this, just to say, if this is like your actual server, you should probably put permissions on these commands so that regular players can't use them. Yeah, so players tool just returns the held item, and then this is the code to get the tag out of the held item. And then we can do send data to player, and we can also check if the data is not set. And then send no data set to player, and then we can exit. And then if I reload it, and if I give an item, you can see it doesn't look any different, but if we say tag, then we get the data that we wrote here in here. Yeah, and if you did it without holding the item, then it would say no data set. So that's quite powerful if you like need to store anything, like maybe you wanted to store the blocks mined with a certain pickaxe, you would do that with tags. Okay, that's all. Thanks for watching.